Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the south-afrifur podcast. You're listening to myself, Ivic Wolf, here. This is going to be a pre-recorded show for those of you guys who are listening to us on this Sunday. And with us today, we have Teddy Wynton, who is a drummer and a obvious furry. And I think you're actually our first red panda that we've had on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm making history.
Yeah, I think he is. If I'm not mistaken, he's definitely our first red panda.
Oh, that's an honor, really. Oh, that's humbling.
Because if we did have Tux on before, then it was before he became a red panda.
Can we call it a WA first?
Oh my God. No.
It's a WA first, yeah.
A WA first.
Right.
No. My Red Panda's been my first owner since I've joined the fandom, like in 2009. So, Jesus, it's almost been 10 years now. But however, there's an artist named Garnetto that drew me as a hyena. So I guess I have two personas now. Well, not really. Not really if you think about it, because I already gave the hyena a name already. So it's a totally different character. So, yeah. But it's cool to be the first red panda, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's good to have our first red panda. Obviously, we'll let. Wait, what's weirder though is that like Tux is a blue panda that's a red panda.
Well, what's crazy? I had the idea of making one of my red pandas blue when it's the winter. So I've seen red pandas of all shades. It's funny. It's yeah.
All right.
Red only by name.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for those of you who are listening, the other voice is obviously Scratch, our co-host.
Doi.
Doi.
Thank you for getting to me like 3 minutes into the interview.
You're welcome. You have to commit somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what's really, really stupid right now?
What?
Everything that is Skype has disappeared off of my monitor.
God damn it. Why are we using Skype?
Can you believe it? It's just not here. It's not here right now. There is nothing indicating that I'm having a phone call currently.
Skype is the worst. I'm sorry. Like
it is. That's why we keep begging people to use Discord, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but Discord is confusing to begin with. Honestly.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I had Discord, but since I don't play games, it's just like, why do I have it? You know?
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot of people on Discord. So, other than like one artist and their significant other, But yeah. Yeah.
So enough, I think, moaning about Discord and what is it? Skype, because Skype obviously does not exist currently for me. There's a non-entity with people. But yes, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, there's not really much about me. I just happen to be a musician by trade. Like, I'm a musician first, furry second. And I come from the state of Maryland in the United States. So if you don't know where Maryland is, it's one of those small states next to New York and next to Washington, D.C. It's like I'm right smack dab in the middle. I just finished performing at Biggest Little Fur Con with Foxamore. I like to think I'm one of his on-call drummers. Like when I performed Eurofurence, Anthrocon. Forgot what other con. I think I performed Califer with him like once. Nice. But other than that, like I'm a full-time musician. I work on I just got off of a cruise ship gig. My third cruise ship. That's pretty much how I make my money is playing on cruise ships, and then when I'm back home on land, I just do the music thing. So like I said, there's not much about me unless you go into the details. But big picture, not much. Yeah.
Well, little picture?
Just a little picture. Just I hit stuff and I get paid for it. So. Yeah.
So I mean,
fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that I'm trying to figure out how many professions fit that broader description. A hitman, obviously.
Yeah.
Like demolition crews, obviously.
Yep.
Angry teachers.
Angry teachers. Angry teachers, not so much in the United States because everybody's overly sensitive over here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not. I don't want to sound like one of those conservative pricks, but it's just like there are moments where I see on Twitter, I'm just like, are you fucking serious? Like, really? You're getting mad over that?
This is why everyone does not need a platform.
Right. Exactly. But to each their own. But so yeah. But I'm just a working musician. That lives in the United States, things like that. So, yeah.
But I mean, like, there must be a lot like behind that. I mean, when it comes to like musician and drumming and things like that. Because I mean, like, what are the? Firstly, like, obviously we've had a vocalist on here once or twice.
Yeah.
And then of course there was Tanya that we had on. The other vocalist.
Yeah. I was just with her last week at BLC, and well, there's so being a musician, there's two routes you can go, and you can do both easily. Well, not really, but there's the freelance route, and then there's the band route. So the freelance route means you work with anybody that has a price that you agree to, and then being a band musician is like you're just in that one unit, specifically. So, for example, the band unit, like you think of bands like Dave Matthews Band or one of my favorite bands, Snarky Puppy, or the musicians in the band. But being a freelance musician means you're working with, like, for example, I have friends that play for Adele. I have friends that was on Rihanna's last world tour.
Damn.
You're not in the spotlight, but you're heard. And you're making that one artist sound good. I'm leaning more towards the freelance route. So, prime example, when I play with Fox Amore and Pepper Coyote, I might just get, hey man, you're the drummer for Fox, right? You sounded really, really good, but they don't know my name. So I don't.
But isn't that just a drummer?
Yeah. I'm just Fox Amore's drummer, and I'm no one important. But I'm not really in it for the recognition. I just want to be able to pay my bills with what I love to do for a living. So there's ups and downs. Like being in the band route, it might take you 10 or 20 years to get recognition as a band and then actually get paid to do what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot. It's just a lot of politics and fun stuff like bands that done both. Of course, you guys are familiar with Toto, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the history of Toto is that they were already session musicians. They were already freelance musicians individually, but they decided to make a huge band. So, for example, everybody knows Toto for Africa and Rosanna.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know Toto was also on Michael Jackson's Thriller and other projects.
Oh, damn. Did not know that.
Yeah. So, for example, Steve Porcaro, I think he's the keyboardist in the band. He wrote Michael Jackson's Human Nature.
Huh.
So like, some bands can be so good as freelance musicians that they can actually come together and form a band and do tons of records like outside of the band together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's the power of music. You can collaborate anytime you want.
I've seen like a lot of metal bands do that quite often as well. Like, I mean, if you look at, say, Master Plan was a band that came together for a while. That lead singer jumps from like project to project like all the time, along with one or two of the guitarists and things like that. They all have their sort of like very sort of distinct sound to them and a distinct sort of like playing style, and you can actually hear when somebody else has sort of jumped in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's funny when a musician that's known to be in one band and they jump into another band, how the whole chemistry just changes.
Yeah.
Like I always like for me being a musician, I always try to be a good commissioner because commissioning an artist is basically, you know, doing what I do, but for visual art. So like, so when I get a sketch from an artist, I might just ask another artist to color it in, and it looks completely different, you know, because just simply because of the colors they put in, you know. So it's just like that, you know, putting in, you know, a different musician in a band that you're used to. It, like I said, it changes the chemistry completely. You know, I agree 100% with that. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, and with the whole sort of like ship gig thing, how exactly does that go? Like, I mean, I'm assuming they're massive cruise liners and things like that. Like, I mean, is there ever a point that you guys have hit like a weird, very weird question, like left field? What's it like hitting rough seas?
Okay, so so the cruise line that I'm currently with, I won't say their name. But it's one of the biggest cruise lines in the world. So and basically this cruise line doesn't hit, you know, rough seas. It basically does the Caribbean and Mexico and maybe Central America, and that's it. And Central America as in Belize, and that's it. So like, we don't really hit rough seas unless it's like in the middle of the winter. That's when waters start to get really, really choppy. But most of the time, it's smooth sailing, no pun intended. You know, and so far, like when I mentioned the whole freelance route, I'm a freelance musician on the ship. So when I get a ship contract, I don't know who's going to be on the ship. So like my first contract was incredible. My ship was based in Long Beach, California, and I was on that ship for 3 months, and it was awesome. My second ship, not so great. I actually had my first experience with depression on that ship. So and they first told me, oh yeah, the contract's going to be 4 months, and then they extended it to 7. So so there were some really dark moments on that ship. Luckily, the cruise director and the bass player, the horn section, and the production show cast kept me occupied, because if I got more depressed, I would have quit mid-contract. So I'm kind of glad. I got through that. My third ship, which is which I did 2 contracts on. So I did 3 ships and 3 ships and 4 contracts. The first time I was on my third ship, I was on there for 8 days, and I did so well on that ship that corporate heard how well I did, and they wanted me to do a full-on contract.
Nice.
And the reason why they put me on the ship for 8 days is because they originally had a drummer on there, but they needed him to come back to land for an expo, for like a conference. So the drummer knew me because he's from New York, I'm from Maryland, and we're about, like, if I drove from Maryland to New York, that's like a 4 to 6 hour drive. So he was just like, hey, I know you just finished the ship, but can you fill in for me? So I filled in, and you know, corporate was like, yeah, the music director sung your praises basically, so we want you to do a 4-month contract. And the reason why they were like, we exclusively want you on the ship, is because that ship I just finished doing a contract on is their newest ship. So you have to be the best of the best to be on that ship. So it was an honor. And also when I got on that ship to do a full contract, I already knew some people that was on that ship. Like, for example, are you familiar with Nuxlight? He's a visual artist.
Yes.
Okay. So Nuxlight, he lives like 2 hours away from me, and we both have a mutual friend that also works on ships. So I took that contract because our mutual friend was on that ship. So, with that, chemistry, that ship band that I was in for those 4 months, we were number 1 in the company for 3 out of the 4 months.
Nice.
So it was pretty awesome. Of course, there were still our ups and downs and things like that, but like that was the best contract I did as a cruise ship musician, and it's pretty cool, man. Definitely.
All right. Let's maybe talk about your influences and things like that, like training and whatnot. How exactly does one really become like a drummer? Because I mean, it's one of the least spoken about, I guess, to a large amount of
Yeah. So for me, I come from a different background compared to a lot of drummers in this fandom. So for me, I grew up in the Black American church. So that means like the stereotype of the Black American church is like having a full-on band, having a decent sized choir and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to become, a musician in the church. However, since I wasn't related to any musicians, and the church that I went to was it still is a really well-known church in Baltimore. They wanted nothing to do with me. And on top of that, I was really, really shy, and I didn't really talk much. I just wanted to play. So when they didn't give me the time of day, I would just, practice in the basement. I would also watch tons of other concerts, which caused me to be exposed to R&B, funk. My brother was a huge hip hop head, and then I was exposed to jazz fusion music. So mix all of that up, down the line, I started to actually gig, around, 10 or so years later. But the main drummer that really influenced me as a musician was a guy named Ricky Lawson. And Ricky Lawson played for everybody from Steely Dan to Whitney Houston to Phil Collins to Michael Jackson. The first time I saw Ricky Lawson perform was during the Michael Jackson Dangerous tour. Michael Jackson was so big that he shut down every TV channel, and you could just watch his concert on any channel you want. And I got to watch Michael Jackson lock in with Ricky Lawson, and that confirmed for me I want to do this for a living, just to see just to see that all those people going crazy over Michael Jackson, and to be on stage with someone that influential. I was just I want to do that. That's awesome. And then there's another drummer from Japan named Akira Jimbo. And it's a funny story how I got hip to him. So there used to be a chain of stores, music stores in the United States called Mars Music. Mm-hmm. And we
have Mars Music down here. Huh.
Wait, there's still Mars Music in Africa?
Yep. There's a Mars Music crazy. like 3 kilometers from my house.
Holy shit. Yeah, so I used to take drum lessons at Mars Music. My first instructor there was named Barry Dove, and he was a orchestral percussionist for the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. So my mom picks me up from Mars Music, and then one of the people that worked there was like, yeah, we got a clinic coming up coming this week. I think it was on a Thursday. I just remember it was November 8th, 1999. That's when the clinic happened. So November 5th, I was just like, yeah, I don't want to go to this clinic. I don't like going to places where there's a lot of people. So the guy was like, well, are you sure you don't want to come? Because this guy played drums on the Pokemon soundtrack. And, I was 8 years old at the time. So, I'm first gen Pokemon. I experienced Pokemon fever. All he had to say was, this guy played drums on Pokemon. So,
everything just lit up. Wow.
Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. So skip forward to November 8th, and I see Akira Jimbo, and it's I was just like, where's his band? Where, isn't he supposed to have a band with him? This dude was a one-man band. He triggered everything. He had the chords. He had, my mind was blown. I'm just I didn't know you could do this with real drums and electronic drums. The stuff that everybody's doing and now with all this electronic music. Mm-hmm. This guy was doing this back in 1999, and then he explained that he's been doing this since the early 70s.
Wow.
You know, I'm just like, holy shit! Like my little 8-year-old mind could not compute what he was doing, and I ended up collecting all his videos. His playing style is a huge influence on my drumming and as well as composition. So Akira Jimbo is one of my biggest heroes. However, I didn't get to meet him after the clinic because keep in mind it was in November, so my mom noticed how like inspired I was by him. So my mom sent me to the truck, and I was like asking why, and I was getting upset. So my mom got in line. Well, first this is what she told me. First, she bought me an instructional video that Akira Jimbo did. It's called Independence. So she bought it, and she hid it under her purse. And then she told me to go to the truck and wait for her. And I was like, I want to meet Akira. And she was like, no, I'm going to meet him. So just go ahead. And so skip over to Christmas. I had an autographed copy of one of Akira Jimbo's videos. And I was just the happiest kid on earth. I wore that tape out, though. I wore that tape. I wore it out. Like Jesus Christ. Another influence. This will be my last one because I have a whole list of them. No, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give you guys 2 more. Okay. There's another guy named Vinnie Colaiuta. He's from the state of Pennsylvania, which is an hour away from me, but he lives in Los Angeles. Vinnie Colaiuta has been on so many records from Herbie Hancock to Megadeth.
Wow.
So yeah. Oh, also he has a reputation for playing for Frank Zappa. So
yes,
you can jump from hearing a Herbie Hancock record to Frank Zappa to Megadeth. And like this guy, I got hip to him from the Modern Drummer Festival in 2000. I got hip to him because Akira Jimbo was also on the Modern Drummer Festival 2000. So I watched every drummer on that Modern Drummer Fest VHS, and Vinnie Colaiuta was just like the stuff he was doing just blew my mind, and I was just like his timing, his aggression, and his musicality just blew me out the water. And then I learned about all the records he played on. I still haven't even scratched the surface with how many records he played on because, like I said, this man is a chameleon. He could play anything, and he's basically what I strive to be as a musician. Like I want to be able to play everything. Like
he's played with Joe Satriani as well.
Yeah, Joe Satriani. He's played with George Duke. He's played with like this dude is a fucking monster. He played with Shaka Khan. Like the stuff. The fact that he can play the most grooviest and funkiest stuff with no effort and play the most technical stuff with no effort while sight reading. He's like how he got the Frank Zappa gig. Steve Vai, he's really close with Steve Vai. So he explained the story of how he got the Frank Zappa gig. So Vinnie Colaiuta comes in with a plate of sushi. He's like, yeah, I'm here to audition. I'm sorry with the sushi, I haven't eaten yet, but I have the music. So apparently the music that Frank Zappa gave him was more challenging than the Black Page. Now, if you're familiar with the Black Page, it's one of the most complex songs ever written for a drummer. So the fact that Frank Zappa wrote a song harder than that for his audition process is intimidating. So, Vinnie Colaiuta sets up his charts, and then he starts sight reading everything. And Frank Zappa is just there with his arms folded, trying to act like he's not impressed. And Steve Vai is just like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, Vinny plays one passage with one arm, and he picks up a piece of sushi and eats it while he's playing, and then he pushes up his glasses and then keeps on playing flawlessly. And Frank Zappa notices that, and he just throws all his charts in the air, and he's just like, he's hired. He's the drummer. He's hired.
That is a fucking baller move.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Vinnie Colaiuta is the fucking man. Like, I mean, the fact that, he also played for, like, if you play for Steely Dan, Sting, Frank Zappa, fucking Joe Satriani, if you play for any of those guys, you are A-list to me. You're A-list in my book. So like Vinnie Colaiuta is just a huge influence on my playing. I mean, my sight reading is shit, but I can read because I'm clearly playing on cruise ships, so I can read. But yeah, Vinnie Colaiuta is like the man, like the perfect all around musician as far as like freelance goes.
Apparently, he's still busy.
Oh yeah, he's still doing the thing, man. He's oh my gosh, like
damn, son.
He was on. Yeah, I think he was on. I forgot what late night TV show, but sometimes this late night TV show has different drummers to fill in for the week, and Vinnie Colaiuta was one of those guys. So yeah, also the last influence for me is a guy named Dennis Chambers. Dennis Chambers is like, not only is he a local hero, he's from my hometown, but he's known worldwide among drummers. If you mention Dennis Chambers, 85% of the time people will know who he is. He's played for Parliament Funkadelic, he's played for Carlos Santana, he's played for Steely Dan, he's played for just pretty much everybody in the jazz fusion world and the funk world. And like, for me as a Black American drummer, it's just like, if you mention Dennis to any Black American drummer or any Black drummer period, they will know who he is. And just his hands are so fast. But like, there's one thing about speed. It's just like, if you don't have a good sense of time, that speed is useless.
Yeah.
Dennis Chambers is like Vinnie. Dennis Chambers' time is impeccable. Like, he can go off into a totally different time signature or different tempo and come right back in on the normal tempo with no worries while he's chewing gum with his eyes closed. Like, this dude plays with his eyes closed the entire time, super relaxed.
Jeez.
And yeah, so like Vinnie Colaiuta, Dennis has been on over 5,000 albums. Like, I need to call him and confirm this, but are you guys familiar with the Sugar Hill Gang? Like one of the original hip hop groups.
Yep.
So, you know, Rapper's Delight.
Mm-hmm.
That was Dennis Chambers on drums.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, Dennis is part of hip hop history, but he's one of the most world-renowned funk drummers alive right now, and he lives right in my town. Like, I was literally at this man's house like a couple months ago.
Nice.
And yeah, like, he's like, I've known the man since I was 7 years old, and he's really, really cool. Like if you don't know who he is, you wouldn't even recognize him. He's that chill, you know. So yeah, but anywho, I went into a tangent, but all those people are my hugest influences as far as being a drummer, because you know, since the church didn't want to give me the time of day, that you know how people nowadays they pretty much complain until they get what they want. I come from that last generation of like, all right, yeah, you got a participation trophy, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Yeah. So you got to keep on practicing to get the results you want. So that's what I pretty much did. Like, I mean, I'm still socially awkward. Like when I was around, yeah. Like my mom thought I was mute when I was a child because I just didn't say anything. So. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell until we get to a party and I'm at a place where I don't know anybody. Then I'm in a corner, or I'm trying to sneak out of the party because I don't know anybody. But yeah, like the musicians of the church didn't give me time of day, so that gave me plenty of time to just work on my craft as a musician and eventually make my own path. Like for example, I'm still looked over as a musician because I don't know why I'm not on tour or I'm not on any major records yet, but I'm guessing it's because I'm constantly being looked over. I just have to figure that out because I'm definitely doing everything right. According to my mentors, like I'm on social media, I'm constantly gigging and doing things like that, but you know, the fact that the furry fandom is doing a lot more for me as a musician, because I mean I'm working with Fox and more, so like the fact that I'm traveling so much and doing this and that, I wish. Well, I wish in the same note, I wish I was getting paid to perform at these concerts, but that's a totally different conversation. Yeah. I'm just happy that, you know, Fox and Pepper Coyote and other furs are like, oh my God, you're a great drummer, and we want you to perform with us. Like, that's really, really, really cool, and it's always a humbling experience.
Yeah.
You know, because like Fox is the reason why I performed at Eurofurence 21. And that was my first gig outside of the United States ever. My first time outside of the country ever. And it was mind blowing. And Fox created history in my family, because the only time my family members have passports is if they're military. So I'm the first I'm the first or second non-military person in my family to have a passport and to travel to do things with that's not military, you know.
So not military, like the furthest thing from military.
Yeah. Like I come from. It's funny. It's either you're creative, it's either you're military, or you're either a pastor or a minister. It's one of those three in my family.
Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like speaking about like things like that, obviously, and the furry fandom, since we've moved into that topic, like what was it like first moving into the fandom itself? Like what was your experience? What did you sort of like?
And what was the draw to it like as well? Like, what brought you into it?
I mean, I always had a respect for anthropomorphic characters like Bugs Bunny, Sylvester, like Looney Tunes. Period. You know, like I didn't really see a difference. Like when people, like I saw through different, you know, chat forums, like, oh, furries, blah 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 furries. I'm like, what the heck is a furry? And then eventually I bumped into Fursuit, you know, because I was going through a DeviantArt phase. I do photography on the side. When I'm not behind the drums, I do photography. So I would upload my photography onto DeviantArt, and I would see chats about furries and things like that. And I'm just like, well, if this was labeled with Looney Tunes, you wouldn't be batting an eye. So, you know, so I saw people linking their stuff to Fursuit, and of course there's the adult stuff, you know, like I've seen all of that, but but I kind of officially became I officially joined the fandom in 2010. I made an FA page in 2009. But I officially joined it in 2010 because I lived in Los Angeles for a couple months, and I met a fur and his fiance, Jay Tiger Claw and Catalina. I met them, and I was really struggling in LA, and they were like, hey, if you need anything to eat or something like that, like our apartment is just right across from you. And I was just like, heck yeah, like let's hang out. And you know, that's how I became a part of the fandom, you know, because of that friendship, and it seemed like no matter what they were going through, they were just still, you know, positive, you know, about it. Of course, furs do have their reputation for drama and things like that, but Jay Tiger Claw and Catalina were different. You know, and also shout out to Bad Will, because Bad Will is the one who introduced me to Jay Tiger Claw and Catalina when I was living in Long Beach. So shout out to Bad Will. If you're not familiar with Bad Will, he's an amazing producer that does a lot of hip hop stuff. So he's cool people. But yeah, you know, other than, you know, the adult stuff, you know, the creativity that furries have and the kindness that they have. It's bar none incredible. Of course, you know, the furry fandom is also a subculture of the nerd aspect. So it's just like of course, every fandom that involves nerds has their gatekeepers, but I haven't experienced any gatekeepers so far. You know, 80% of my experience has been positive. You know, so. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. I know I tend to go all over the place.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, and this is if I probably haven't mentioned this. I don't know what I did when I first emailed you. I mentioned that this is going to be part of our multiculturalism in the furry fandom, sort of like spiel. Now, I mean, obviously, things have actually, I mean, since 2009 even, things have started changing within the fandom itself with respect to larger groups of, I guess, different cultures joining. Obviously, the percentages aren't necessarily as high as, you know, I guess they should be, maybe would be the term.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, this is gonna be if you're low key opening a can of worms, which I like. So
it's how I do things.
Yeah. So like when I joined the fandom, I did notice that a lot of the fandom was full of white Americans. There wasn't really a lot of, you know, Black Americans or any kind of. It was very, very white heavy. You know, so and I noticed that transition from 2009 to now. Like, people are like, yeah, we're furs, but we can't forget that reality of where we're actually from. You know, and now there's this whole controversy of like, why do you want to bring race into things? Blah 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 blah. It's just like, for me as a Black American, I can't use the fandom as a form of escape. I just can't. It just doesn't work for me. Because if I openly admit that I'm a furry, I can kind of kiss my career goodbye. I mean, yeah, people will mention, well, what about Sonic Fox 5000? I'm not a gamer. The gaming industry is not as open as being a Black male in the music industry. It's two totally different industries.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't use the fandom as an escape. And then also, you know, since the fandom is so open, that kind of brings, you know, not only the positive thing of the fandom being accepting to other people, but it also brings in the negativity, which, like, the alt-right furs, the Nazi furs, and things like that. So, like, you know, being told, you know, to get over some things because of where I come from, it's just like, wow. So, like for example, like, what I really like about this fandom is not only is it being really multicultural, but it's also bringing in, like, now there's kind of low key becoming kind of mainstream, that it attracts, you know, people that are creative and like the fashion field. Like, for example, Soul Pup, who's another Black American fur that I know of. He's very well versed in fashion, and there's you know, if you scroll back to like Anthrocon, like 1998, 1999, the Cringe Fest, basically.
Yeah.
Oh no! You'll see that a lot of furs, you know, because a lot of furs, the fandom at one point, and it is still known to accept people that aren't socially acceptable and regular society. But now, you know, you're starting to notice that there's a lot of furs that can actually, like, that can dance. There's a lot of furs that have a fashion sense. You know, like, it's starting to become. I forgot where I'm going with this. Oh my gosh.
No.
But it's just like the stereotypes about the fandom is starting to get destroyed. You know, like the people that you least expect to be a furry has their hand in the fandom somehow.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not as, you know. Well, also on top of the fact, being nerdy is kind of cool now. So, like, you know, that whole nerdy thing is cool. Also, like, the pop culture is really, you know, kind of popping off and things like that. So, like, that kind of, and also, you know, pop culture. I mean, I have to admit, you know, 80% of pop culture is Black culture. So when a fandom accepts Black culture, of course you're going to have more multicultural groups, because a lot of Black entertainment or Black culture, which is American culture, let's just put it out there. You know, it's easier to have different people of color to come into that fandom, because, like, oh wow, you're open to, you know, letting me be me instead of me having to, having my hair cut short and having to wear a suit all the time. Yeah, oh, you guys don't mind me listening to hip hop music? That's awesome. Oh, you guys don't mind, me being, a gay Black American? Oh, let me go ahead and join. Like the fact that, even though we can't escape our reality, but it's still that the furry fandom can still help with a little bit of the escape. It helps a lot, and it's a beautiful thing that it's starting to get bigger. However, like I said, I can't blend me being a furry and a professional musician together because of who I'm connected to. So like I mentioned, like my mentors, like I mentioned my mentors, my mentors that played for Rihanna. I also have a mentor that played with Lady Gaga. I have a mentor that's that's toured with major pop acts. But all these musicians that are backing these major pop, R&B, hip hop acts, they all come from the Black American church.
Yeah.
So they can. I'm not saying that they're homophobic, but being a Black American that's involved in a highly homosexual fandom, it kind of bats an eye, at me. So I'm just gonna keep it separate. I might throw hints out, but I keep it separate. So yeah.
But I mean, like that's kind of the problem here, isn't it? I mean, like one of the things that I've sort of been thinking is that, like, I mean, for me, I could. And I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't necessarily, like, people already know me because I'm a lecturer as a relatively weird person to be around and to talk to, especially my students. In that, like, I mean, it always seems like I'm never prepared for absolutely anything, but half the time I'm the only person who's getting relatively okay marks. So there's that. But so like I'm sort of hopefully getting a fursuit at some point in my life, and like Friday's a casual Friday, and at this point I'm just thinking, I'm gonna rock up in suit and just teach for 2 hours because that's what my Friday looks like, and then just like teach like that. Hopefully people can hear me. Maybe you should bring a microphone, but I'll think about things like that later.
I mean like, do you, man? That's like. The only reason why I don't have a fursuit is because I'm a working musician. Like, for example, one of my drums is worth, like, one of my snare drums is worth near $1,000. So that's like a price of a fursuit right there. So So yeah, like if you want to do that whole fursuit, I mean, yeah, just do you. I mean, it's casual Friday. Why not?
But the question, of course, is that, like, I mean, for you, obviously, as you were saying earlier, like coming out as a furry, for instance, it's job altering.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because it's a career liability. Because the thing is that there are like pretty much 3 or 4 other things that are also sort of semi against the entire thing. And I mean, like, coming out like that, and people are just going to sit there going like, okay,
right.
So that contract.
Yeah, it's like, well, with the cruise ship gig, it wouldn't matter. But being a freelance musician where your reputation is constantly on the line, that's where it matters.
Yeah.
Like for someone that doesn't understand the furry fandom, they might have all right, CSI pretty much almost destroyed the entire furry fandom within one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So so, and a lot of people kind of go by, oh, so you fuck animals and stuff like. I'm like, no, bitch, I don't. Like, what? Like, no, like people that are on the outside looking in might not understand that furry culture and think, I'm into, things that I'm not into, and I don't want people to assume that, you know. So I kind of, I low-key keep stuff separate. However, like, if I get a piece of art that I really, really like, and the person drew me in that sense of, like, the character looks like me in real life, but in an anthro form, of course, I'll probably post it on my Instagram or my Facebook, you know. But here's the thing, though. Remember when I mentioned throwing hints and stuff like that? So on my Instagram, I did mention, you know, hey, I was out here in Nevada playing at a convention with Foxamore at BLFC, and I showed a picture of the rental drum set that the con supplied for me, and Fox and things like that. So it kind of like the way I worded it, it made it seem like I'm just out here for Foxamore, and Foxamore is the one who's into that, because I don't have any furry stuff on my Instagram page. Fox, however, does. So like the eye batting won't be so bad, you know. So far, I haven't had any eyes bat at me yet, so that's a plus. You know, it's just all in how I word things. I'm hoping eventually at one point I'll be able to be like, hey, you know, the fandom pays my bills, so I don't even give a fuck what you think. But right now, the fandom does not pay my bills at the moment, so I gotta keep it hush hush. I got to, you know. Like it would be nice to play a gig where I'm like, you know, hey, if you want me here, you know, it's gonna cost this amount of money, but one can dream. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure a con will eventually be like, oh, that's no problem, but right now, nah. If you know, like maybe no, cons don't pay their DJs either. Ooh, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm bringing up sensitive stuff. Like cons should, like, if they really want a professional DJ or professional anything, they should start. No, I'm not gonna go there. Not
no, the thing is that it is an important topic to go into. I mean, like, one of the other things that like south-afrifur is doing, and like both myself and Scratch are, you know, con chair people here in South Africa. Right. That, like, I mean, every now and again we like approach somebody that we've had on the podcast. We're like, you know what, we would love to have you at the convention, and then they're like, you know, someone has to pay the plane ticket and this and this and this, and we're just sitting there going like, maybe next year.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, like I understand the whole logistics of things, and also a lot of times cons are non-profit events, so it's just like, for me, I would just like if like I'm currently talking to Eurofurrents again, because I can't afford to fly myself out this time. So I'm hoping they can fly me out to the con, but you know, a lot of times I just got to get my merch game up to par, because you know Fox doesn't, you know, Fox and other performers they don't get paid at cons. They have merch, so I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll just have to, you know, bring my merch game up or something like that. You know, sell some T-shirts, sell some pens and things like that. Speaking of, I do have pens to sell. So
yeah.
I
mean, I saw that you got buttons as well now.
Yeah, oh my god, this dude, it was a horror story to get those buttons. Oh my god. Like, so I don't know if you were following my tweets, but like I ordered these enamel pins of my persona like over a month ago, and the rep that I talked to was like, yeah, we'll get them in before you fly out to your event. So I'm like, okay, cool, bet, I'll order the pins right now, not a problem. So, you know, May 4th rolls around. That's the deadline they said they would have the pins in by. No information. So you know, every time I check the website, the estimated delivery date goes up by 1 day. So May 8th rolls around. I emailed them. I was just like, so I haven't received my pins yet, and I told you that I fly out May the 9th. What's going on? And they were like, oh, blah, 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 I'm sorry, things like that. So I was like, all right, so here's the thing. I fly out May the 9th. I'll give you the address to the hotel that I'm staying at. Can you have these out by May the 10th? They're like, of course, we'll have them out by May the 10th. May the 10th rolls around. May the 11th rolls around. May the 12th rolls around. May the 13th, I get a shipping notification saying that your pins have been shipped, and they will be here by May the 14th. They're shipping. They were shipped from Japan, to China, to the United States, and I didn't get them till the con ended.
Ugh.
So I was just like, I sent a very, very angsty email saying, "Hey, I know that I'm getting I got a quality product, but this will be the first and last time I'll be using your service." I'm like, I was just like, I also said, I know your rep was like, I'll get them in by May 8th or some shit like that, but if your rep was honest with me, we wouldn't even be talking right now. You know, they were just trying to get my money. So I was just like, so for any artist that's listening to this podcast, stay away from the studio. That's what the pen company is called. It's called The Studio. Like, if you need something really quick and you have a deadline, do not go to the studio. Do not go to them. At least
thestudio.com.
Yeah. Do not go to them. You know.
All right.
Yeah, just stay away. I'm sorry. I don't like putting people on blast, but like, I ordered 100 pens and it cost me like $250. You know, and I told you I had a deadline. I mean, at least honor the deadline, and the fact that I was willing to work with you.
Yeah.
You know, because normally people will be like, "Oh, my pens are not here. I demand my money back."
Mm-hmm.
You know, You know, sometimes I just feel I'm a little too nice. Sometimes, you know. Yeah. Anyways, that's my recent butt hurt.
No worries. I mean, hell, it might even be easier to use our the guys who are doing our stuff.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
Because what was awesome is that like we there's a South African company that we use for pretty much all our merch now, like T-shirt printing and what else was there?
Yeah, buttons and stuff like that.
Buttons, yeah. And the thing is that like what was it? We last year we sent through an order. What was it? Within the week of the convention.
Yeah.
And it came like 2 days later. It was there. We just picked it up.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great. Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't like a super bulk thing, but it was like what, 27, 28 T-shirts. So, but
yeah.
Still, I mean, they sparked, they delivered. Like, and I'm pretty stoked with their service, and the quality is pretty good as well.
Oh, the quality was great. It still holds a year later. Which is great.
Oh. That's good, because you know, being a working musician, we go through a lot of clothes, a lot of equipment, and things like that. So, I might have to get that contact information after this.
Good luck with the shipping costs.
I know. Yeah. I mean, if I happen to end up at your con, I always planned. I always wanted to go to the motherland. So it's just like, why not? You know. So if I ever end up in South Africa, I will let you guys know.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we'll be happy to have you.
And I know it probably won't, but if one of the cruises that you play on does end up docking in Cape Town, let us know.
Oh yeah, the company that I deal with doesn't do cruises to Africa. However, they own 7 other cruise lines, so I'm sure one of those 7 cruise lines go to Cape Town.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny you mentioned South Africa. I really need to find out where my roots are from. So eventually, once I get that one of those genetic kits, because right now my aunts say that we have family rooted in Sierra Leone, which I'm not 100% sure with, but people that are from Africa say I look like I'm from Sierra Leone, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm from. So once I get that 23andMe kit, you guys will be the first to know what part of Africa I'm from. That'd be freaking awesome to know. You know, when people, you know what started it? It was during my second contract. So my second ship contract was based in Port Canaveral, Florida, and Port Canaveral, Florida is known for a lot of people that are kind of redneckish,
Mm-hmm.
and people would see my name tag and they're like, "Oh wow, you're the first American I seen on the ship. Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from the United States." "But where are you from?" I'm like, "United States." You don't look American." All right. Well, if you want to go that deep, well, about 400 years ago, my history has been erased thanks to your people. So I don't know exactly where I'm from. I've been told I look like I'm from Hawaii. I've been mistaken for a Filipino. I've been mistaken for Latino. I've been mistaken for for Trinidadian. I've been mistaken for look. I bumped into the same person again at a Starbucks, and we were docked in Curacao. And this young lady that worked behind the counter, she started speaking Dutch to me because Curacao is a Dutch Caribbean island.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not from Curacao. She's like, "Oh, I thought you were." No, I'm sorry. So it's kind of a shame that I don't know my roots, but what can you do with the history of the United States? So I don't mean to go all kinds of dark on you, but it's just really cool to talk to people from the motherland and like, you're from Cape Town, right?
Yep,
Well,
I am.
Scratch is from Cape Town. I'm from Pretoria.
Oh, dude, like those are places I really want to check out. Other than I mean, I want to go to Egypt first and then travel down, but just to, like, I know, like, for example, one of my mentors, he's actually on. I think he's still in Africa right now. He's on tour in Africa. And just seeing his pictures of seeing the pyramids and see different kinds of history of people that look like me, it's just like, wow, like we did that. We did all of that. Like, it's so, like, being told that, my race of people is ugly, or we're thugs, or we're savages and things like that, and then seeing such amazing feats happen in such an early time in history that was probably 300 to 500 years ahead of itself.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, and it's how can I say this? It just makes me feel good, man. Like, growing up as a United States citizen and seeing history of my people that look like me being put down and stuff, so much to the point that, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm going dark. So much to the point that my own people, where we want to straighten our hair, and we have to learn how to switch code. You know about code switching, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have to.
It's from Ebonics or African American English sometimes to high pan, as they would call it.
Yeah, and not only just to get a job, but in order to fucking survive.
Yeah.
For me, I switch code without even thinking. So just to see the history of Africa, and like learning about myself as like, I'm not speaking as a fur, I'm speaking as a Black American. It means so much. And then also on the flip side, I love the fact that Marvel is involving everyone.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to a really close friend of mine about how much Black Panther means to me. Like I never heard of the Black Panther series until the movie came out. I'm embarrassed to say that. My dad was already hip, but I'm embarrassed to say I never heard of Black Panther until the movie came out. So when I saw Black Panther for the first time, and I can I say spoilers? I mean, the movie just came out, so can I say spoilers?
Yeah.
For those?
Let's call it spoiler warning from here on. You have 2 minutes. Go.
Okay, so spoiler warning. So there's a scene where T'Challa pretty much goes into the sand, and he goes into the other world, and he sees his father, T'Chaka. And you know, T'Challa gets really, really emotional, and he bows to his father, and his father tells him, "Get up, you're a king now." Like that simple line, I almost busted out crying because my parents have always told me, like, you come from royalty. Don't tell anyone. Don't have anyone tell you otherwise. You're always going to be somebody. And then going out into society, seeing people that look like me telling me and them, like, yeah, you're just a thug. You're just a savage. Like, look at all these people. Like, having someone with such power being told, you know, they're a king because they actually do come from royalty, that means a lot, you know. Yeah. And also, you know, seeing superheroes of color, they always seem like a side character, or they're always super duper corny, you know. Yeah. Like, for example, like when people think of African American characters, they think of like Static Shock. Static Shock was okay, he was cool. Green Lantern is a badass character, but he doesn't get a lot of mention. And then there's also
Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that and Luke Cage. You know, but Luke Cage, from the outside looking in, I saw so many comments saying Luke Cage is a fucking savage. I'm like, nah. But yeah,
and another thing about Black Panther, it's like, it has the most relatable villain. Like, you can understand the struggle. You can understand what he's getting at in a very, like, not a primal level, but like a base level. It makes sense what he's saying. It's just the means he gets to it is obviously the wrong means.
Yeah, like, well, Killmonger pretty much represents the Black American, the
disenfranchised Black American.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could tell he started out as a wholesome person. Like, but eventually, with all the experiences of, you know, being pushed back every fucking time, which leads to him being that angry black man, that bitter black man. And luckily for him, he actually learned where he came from. A lot of us are just angry, and we don't even know where we come from, which makes us angrier, you know? But people don't look at they don't look into that, you know. They really don't, you know. And I kind of experienced that low key in the furry fandom. Like, when I speak about my experiences as a Black American, you know, some furries just get really uncomfortable, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Like, you use your fandom as a way of escape. This is how I escape. Like, I vent what I experience. You know, and I've lost a couple hundred followers because of that, and I don't give a fuck. You know, Twitter's not paying. Like I said, Twitter is not paying my bills. You know, well, not at the moment. You know, like once I get, you know, up to maybe, you know, 10,000 to 20,000, I might filter myself. But right now, I have no filter. You know, so. I'm sorry I went super dark about talking about race relations and shit like that, but
it's honestly one of the reasons why we're doing this. It needs to be said. Like, these conversations definitely need to happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I think one of the main moments that made me lose a lot of followers was when there was a musician in Texas. He was 17 years old. He just got accepted into one of the most prestigious music conservatories on earth, and he got killed by a box bomb, like
mail bomb, or
some kind of mail bomb, and it hit me really. It hit me hard. Like, I was angry for at least 3 days straight because first the rumor was this bomber was targeting people of color. You know, and then later you find out he was just placing bombs in random places. But the neighborhoods that he was in, there were a lot of people of color. So a lot of people that got the bombs were people of color. So it was just like, yo, that shit could have been me or one of my young musician friends. And you know, I never, like, here's what's fucked up about America. that you're so used to the racial injustices in the United States that you're just desensitized. It's just like, yeah, this shit happens every day. I can deal with it. But seeing someone that looks like me, that has the same profession, that has the same drive as me as a musician, have their life snuffed away like that, that shit hurt. You know, on top of that, like, you know, I've had an experience where I lost a cousin. Like, she died from a homicide, and her body was found in a trash bag. Keep in mind, she was 12 years old.
Oh,
jeez.
And she was super smart. She was super like Black Americans are always put in a negative light, but we don't get any attention for being intelligent until we get snuffed out. You know? So, like, and keep in mind, my mom's side of the family is fucking huge, so I didn't really know my cousin that well, and she didn't know me that well. But, you know, seeing that 17-year-old kid that got killed reminded me of my cousin that got murdered. You know? It just, it hurts. You know? So yeah. Okay, can we just...
Yeah, I mean... no worries. Witchy, actually, we had an interview with her as well, Witchy Bunny. Yeah. And she actually mentioned, you know, one of the like most striking things that she found in respect to, you know, just being who she is that her mom had a conversation with her one day, and she said, you know what, I mean, if you had 3 strikes already, like, you already struck out on 2 of them, because, like, you know, firstly, she's Black, and secondly, she's female.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. Like,
yeah,
like, for me, like, I kind of have to say, like, since I'm of the lighter hue, I kind of experience more privileges than my darker friends. You know, like, it's really fucked up. Like,
it's like the Indian caste system.
Yeah, it's not only that we have to deal with racism from other people, we have to deal with colorism within our own communities. You know, like, oh, you're lighter than you are, you don't have to struggle as hard, you know, or you know, or like, oh, like, you speak like a white person, we're gonna call you an Oreo from now on. You're Black on the outside but white on the inside. I'm just like, what kind of self-hate bullshit is this? You know, like we've hated. Oh my God, we've become conditioned so much to hate ourselves that it's destroying our own fucking communities. And then on the same turn, if we try to improve our own communities, we have people from the outside being like, "Oh, you're becoming too militant," or "You're too angry," or "No, this is not the right way to do it." Like, for example, who's the football player? Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, Kaepernick. Yeah.
That whole incident showed the hypocrisy of America. Like, that we as Black Americans cannot do shit, or as you might hear Black Americans say, we can't have shit. Because Colin Kaepernick was respectful, because when he first started, he would just sit down during the anthem. But then a military person told him, if you want to do this, the right way to do this is to go on one knee to show your respect, but still make your voice heard. So he respected the military person and bowed. You know, and then people are still in the uproar, calling him a bitch, calling him a thug, calling him the N-word and things like that. And I'm like, Colin's not even doing anything. He's being silent. But on the flip side, when we're silent and we get tired of being silent, then we start to, like, actually talk. Yeah, and start to protest and things like that, and riot and things like that. Then all of a sudden, we still hear the same shit. So it's just like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, this is America. Like, like Childish.
Yeah,
Childish Gambino. Like, it just like of course, like everybody is a hypocrite. at the end of the day, everybody is a hypocrite. But like, I'm speaking as a Black American. You can't talk about, oh well, what about black on black crime? Well, what about white on white crime? What about Latino on Latino crime? What about Asian? Like, if you're in an area, if you're in a, yeah. If
like,
you're in
go.
Okay. Well, if you're in an area that has more of your same people, of course there's going to be crimes of the same race happening more often. And on top of that, you can't. Oh my God, I like last time I checked, Black Americans only represent 13% of the United States population. So why are we like so focused? Like, why are we focused on? Ah, fuck it.
Yeah.
No, it's perfect. Like, the thing is that, like, as I was saying, like, I mean, you're saying, you know, white on white crime, black on black crime, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, in that same sense, it's like, you know, every 2-3 months, you guys have another school shooting, or another this or another that. Like, instead of just focusing on that kind of stuff, what the hell, like, you know, why isn't anybody trying to fix it? Why isn't anybody going like, you know what, like, there is a common enemy here, and honestly, it could be the news, it could be this, it could be that, it could be any of these things. But I mean, like, turning a person just for doing something wrong into sort of this anti-hero, for instance, like, because that's something that I saw on YouTube. Somebody shared it, I think it was on Twitter, where there was a person actually saying, like, you know, what's actually happening is that it's becoming more prevalent because of the fact that people are being turned into heroes because of the fact that they've murdered somebody. You find like a group of people, you find out who they are, where they came from, what their background is, everything like that. Suddenly these people are, you know, put into a status of, I exist and suddenly I matter.
Right. And then the victims are blown into the dust. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the messed up thing. Like, again, I don't mean to play the race card. It's just like, every time there's a school shooting, it's like, most of the time it is a white American, and like you said, they become, you know, anti-heroes. However, if it's a person of color, well, nah, if they're of Asian descent, they don't really, you know, they
don't fall into the meta.
Yeah, well, because they're, I hate to say it, but from what I've been told, a lot of Asian people they have the stereotype of being the, what's the word, the role model minority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they work super hard.
They keep their heads down.
They keep their heads down and don't complain. However, you know, they keep their heads down because they find other ways to get back at you. You know? But however, like, if you're a Black American or if you're a Latino American, you get put on the news every 5 fucking minutes, you know, and the words get put differently. For example, the last school shooter, he was a troubled kid. He was a lone wolf. Yeah. You know, I'm just like, that is some bullshit. Like, that's a slap in the face. However, if it's a African American, you know, he's a terrorist, he's a thug, he's a savage. You know, we're putting it because, you know, white Americans are the majority of the country, so they get to see themselves all the time. However, when a Black American is put on TV in a negative light, you know, that gets magnified tenfold. You know, and I hate that shit. Like, I'm expecting this shooter that was in El Paso to be called a lone wolf. He was, so far I've heard, he was always a weird person. He was always, you know, unique and things like that. Like, they were just, like you said, he was an anti-hero. They were just, you know, sprinkling positive stuff about him. I'm just like, what this motherfucker did was terrorism. But I'm guessing since he's not brown and not from the Middle East, he's not a terrorist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All I can think of right now is that Childish Gambino video of how they shot the dude in the back of the head, how Childish Gambino shot the dude in the back of the head, and he put the gun in a red velvet cloth while the dude was getting dragged away. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more questions? Because because we're digging deep. Because I also had an answer for why is it like this. I'm just like, well, it's because rich people don't want to lose their power, so they basically want to make sure they stay in control by being like, all right, this is the agenda I want to keep to stay in power. Like, okay, we're going into Alex Jones territory, so I don't want to go into that rabbit hole of conspiracies. So, do you have any more questions, or like, because I could go all day about this shit. I really could.
Well,
yeah, but then again, we don't want to throw you off your game for the rest of the evening because you do have a gig to get to. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you have anything else? I mean, it's only 10:32 here, so.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Well, I think I more towards the furry side. Obviously, I mean, we were talking about the fact that the furry fandom is quite accepting and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and there happen to be like a whole bunch of really really good, like I guess role models within the fandom itself. But I mean, with that, obviously we have people like I guess you mentioned them earlier, the Nazi furs and things like that, who actually do sort of, I don't know, subvert the entire ideology of what being a furry actually is.
Well, like the issue I have with the Nazi furs is like it's hypocritical. How can you be gay and then the history of Nazism shows that you have to be a straight male, like in the first place. Also, how can you be in a fandom that's so accepting when you're spewing out hate?
And then they'll immediately rebuke that and saying like, "Why are you kicking me out? Because the furries are supposed to be so accepting. Why can't you accept me? Because you're a dick. You can say what you want, but it's not gonna. Being able to say what you want isn't a shield against how people are gonna react to you."
Right. Having to say what you want doesn't excuse you from the consequences of me giving you these hands in your face. Yeah. Like that's like I'm waiting personally. I am waiting for the day where some fur will say something really really fucked up and say it to the wrong person, and a whole fight will break out.
Yeah.
Because the stuff I've seen, like I've heard at Anthrocon, but there was a fursuiter that was wearing the Confederate flag on their back.
Yep, that guy.
And apparently, Anthrocon used to be in Philadelphia. If you know about Philadelphia, have you been to the States before? Have you been to the United States?
I was there from very very young, so okay. I have a general idea.
Okay. So Philadelphia has a huge amount of history, kind of like Washington D.C. So like you can walk down the street and see the fucking Liberty Bell. So, but Philadelphia is also the city of brotherly love. So, a large majority of Philadelphia's population is African American. So, if Africon was still in Philadelphia, believe me, someone's ass will be getting kicked, and it's not the citizens of Philadelphia. That fursuiter would have gotten. First of all, I don't know what would happen personally, but I know he would have a couple black eyes. It's just because of the history of the Confederate flag. It's for me as a black American, it's not positive. Okay, we're kind of backtracking into what.
Let's just say it's good he's wearing the red suit today.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what else about the role models?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that obviously there's Tanya, yourself, Redcap is also out there that I've seen on Twitter now.
Yeah.
And the thing is that obviously we're looking to find people who are willing to talk about these kinds of things, the kind of both the oppression and the way to get over the way to sort of approach it.
Yeah. Well, it's just the fact that we don't mind talking about it, but we have to have furs that are willing to be able to listen to their our experiences, because like I said, we can't, even though we're in this fandom to be creative and to be, you know, to somewhat escape our realities, but still we still can't escape who we are. Yeah. So if we experience something and we talk about it and we go into a rampage about it, don't tell us to get over it. You know, don't tell us to, well, what about, you know, don't tell us the whataboutisms. Don't just listen, and then try to conversate and try to learn from our experiences, because we had to learn, you know, our history throughout this pain that we're experiencing. So like, I'm kind of glad that you see us as a light for you know, the furs of color, because like I said, like since a lot of furs use this fandom as an escape from reality, it's another form of oppression for us furs that don't get to experience that privilege.
Because the conversation can't be had otherwise. I mean, it's like, oh no, but you can't, you know, muddy the waters in this place that's an escape. It's that's just wrong. That's not how you're supposed to. That's bullshit. That's really, really bullshit. Saying, like, you know, it doesn't belong here. It's like politics not belonging in comic books, for instance. It's that entire argument.
Yeah. It's like politics. I mean, learning your politics prevents you from repeating the bad parts of history.
Exactly.
You know, like learning the pains of life, so you can prevent a bad future. It's those facts are detrimental. Like learning pain to prevent pain in the future. Like you don't want to, you know, like that's like saying like, oh, I don't want to hear this. That's kind of like, I don't want to hear you tell me that it's bad to put my hand on a hot stove. Yeah. You know, that's kind of a bad analogy, but you know, that's how I see it. You know, I understand like furries that probably heard it all before, where, you know, where people of color seem to, I'm putting air quotes in the air, complain all the time, but but a lot of furries forget, you know, like I mentioned, like a lot of furries are white Americans. They forget that they're part of a majority, and you know, they're talking to someone that's part of a minority. So you know, it might not happen in their circles a lot to them, but to the minority, it happens all the time, and we can't talk about it. So we're using that fandom as a way to vent. We're using it as a platform. Yeah. So, yeah.
Random question.
Yeah.
Your banner on your Twitter profile, the two people that you're standing next to, there's like one guy who's sort of hidden face.
Yeah. So So I pretty much created an entire. So when I create characters, I like creating backstories for them.
Yeah.
So the guy on the left is Ian. He's the oldest brother, and he was actually the first anthropomorphic character I created. Hence why my Twitter name is IanMJ91. He's the first red panda I created. However, when he was created, I'm just like, holy shit, he's too handsome to be my persona. You know, so I created Teddy, who's in the middle, who's me in every aspect. Ian represents the fashion side of me, the fashionista side of me. And then the small character is Jake. He's the youngest one. He's the super magical one. He's actually a magician, but he represents the shy part of me that doesn't really like to talk, but does a lot. Like and also I've always been infatuated by optical illusions and magic and things like that. So he pretty much represents like the shy part of me and things like that. I also recently created the parents of these characters not too long ago as well. So yeah, like I have so many characters. It's not funny. And then like I mentioned earlier, Garnetto, she created a hyena version of me. Like she looked at me and then just created a character on the spot. So So that hyena is going to represent the photographer side of me. So yeah, so like it's crazy how many characters I have, and they're all related to music somehow. Like for example, I have a chinchilla character that owns a record shop. You know, so it's and the reason why I chose him to run a record shop is like not only do I like create characters just because I like the species, but I look into like what their quirks are and what their interests are. So like for a chinchilla, we all know that they don't take regular baths because that'll destroy their fur. They take dust baths. So so what place other than the library is dusty? A record shop. So so you know while you know my chinchilla character is you know running the record shop, he can keep his fur clean because you know people that come in with dusty records, you know, it's
like just wipe it on your fur.
Yeah. So yeah,
I like the fact that you got a chinchilla because we have a chinchilla with us as well. Like we own one.
Oh,
the cutest damn thing on earth.
I know. I wish I could own one, but it's just Maryland has all the weather. Like it's bipolar weather. One like a couple weeks ago, it was 60 degrees one day, and then the next day it hit 90 degrees.
Ugh.
Yeah. So like I understand. I'm in the United States, so we're the only place that uses Fahrenheit. You can convert that to Celsius. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, the weather isn't that bad for chinchillas. I mean, the fur tends to stay relatively similar or stay the same.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, like I remember, what was it? A friend of mine actually said that like if a chinchilla does in fact get water on their coat, because the fur is so dense, it's like the water doesn't actually evaporate. Or not evaporate very well. So eventually what you're going to do is you're going to find like moss on your chinchilla's back. And it will eventually kill.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Ooh. That would stress me out. Like I would be so what's the word? Aquaphobic? Or hydrophobic? Yeah. I'll be extremely hydrophobic just knowing that, you know, because chinchillas are just too cute to be to kill. Like I don't get how people can have chinchilla coats. Like, you know how many chinchillas you have to kill to have a full on coat? If you're like I'm 5'11", so it's just like if I want a chinchilla coat, that's a lot of chinchillas.
Yep. And I mean, they do get relatively big, but I'm pretty sure that you're looking at a good 300 to 350, maybe 400 chinchillas.
It's a metric fuck ton of chinchillas for just one.
Yeah, metric. Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. Well, it's nearing 10:45. Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
I think it's actually around about time we should start wrapping up. We've been at this for an hour and a half, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I really enjoyed this interview. I mean, I wouldn't mind being on another episode sometime soon. So
yeah, sure.
By all means.
Yeah. And yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure having you on, to be honest. Like, I don't want to say despite, like, the fact that you can talk so openly about these things that sort of that piss you off this much, things that are such an issue in society for you. That's good. This is part of the stuff that we're looking for, the part of the conversation that we're trying to spark up. So, thank you for your ranty tangents today.
Oh, it's not a problem. It's just like for me, it's just like I see a lot of history repeating itself, and it's really, really pissing me off. And I just, like at this point of time, where with all this technology that we have, it should not be repeating itself. The history should not be repeating itself. So,
and not at this, and not even at this sort of like what's the word? This pace at that point as well.
Right.
Constantly.
Right.
It's like over and over every single time. But yeah, one of the things that we like, I mean, in respect to a possible sort of callback is that I think one of the things that, and Scratch, I'm probably going to talk to you about this at some point, is I was thinking that we should actually get a panel together where we sort of like do, like, you know, get 3 or 4 people, voices in the communities and things like that, where we can just like get a string of like questions and things like that from audiences anywhere, and where we then just sort of unpack those kinds of issues.
Yeah. I kind of want to get Pepper Coyote on this, but he's a school teacher, so his schedule is kind of hectic. But
yeah, we've actually already tried getting Pepper, and I mean, like his calendar is one of the most like awkward things to actively like wade through.
Yeah, his schedule is crazy, but yeah, let me see if I can convince him to clear his schedule out. If not, I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Teddy,
For
thanks
sure.
so much. One last thing. Do you want to plug anything? Any places you're going to be? Any gigs you're going to do?
Well, I don't really have anything. Well, actually, I do have. I'll be on a ship called I'll be on a ship called the Carnival Inspiration for like 8 days. That's coming up. I'll be on there from June 11th to the 18th. I don't think that's 8 days. I'm horrible at math, even though I'm a drummer. I'm horrible at math. But I'll be on the Carnival Inspiration for like about a week, and then I'm gonna go see Ninja Sex Party at Salt Lake City.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see Ninja Sex Party in Salt Lake City. I think June 28th. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't bought plane tickets yet. But the plan is to go see Ninja Sex Party with Garnetto and her fiance Kai Dirdwolf. So that's gonna be a thing.
Send Danny and Brian our regards, please.
I will. Also, I might come to Eurofurence in August. It's still up in the air. It's a might. I don't. It's leaning towards a no, but we're trying to work something out. So, hopefully I'll be there. I'll also be at Anthrocon in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll be performing with Fox and More at Anthrocon. Also, check out the BLFC musical soundtrack, A Musical Tale. I don't know where that's going to be at. I think it's on Fox's Bandcamp or something like that. But go ahead, check it out. I'm on drums on that entire project. Also, in September, I will be at Memphis Furry with Fox and More, and then I'll be in Nashville to record #2, which is Fox and More and Pepper Coyote's next studio project. Other than that, I don't think I have any other gigs coming up, but you can follow me on Twitter at IanMJ91, and I do have an Instagram, but I kind of keep that separate. So if you really want my Instagram, get to know me on IanMJ91, and I'll send you my Instagram. Yeah. So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, like I said,
Thanks a lot.
once again, thanks a lot for being on, and to everyone listening, Ivik should be spinning some tunes after the recording, and then we shall see you all next week.
Woo!
All right. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
All right. See you guys,
guys.
man. Cheers.
See you later. All right.
Bye.
All right.